"Dad, get out, you're fired," my son Ethan barked, his eyes glittering with cold contempt. For 11 years I had built his company, sacrificing everything, only to be thrown out like garbage over a petty argument. I silently packed my things, but a plan was already ripening in my mind. There was a document in his safe, the key to his dirty secrets. Thursday would be fun. I won't just leave. I will destroy everything he stole from me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where. You can also let us know where you are listening in the comments. The conference room buzzed with tension, the projector humming faintly beneath Ethan's voice. "You're stuck in the past, Dad," he snapped, his Rolex ticking sharply as he jabbed a finger at me. Papers littered the table, some stamped confidential. I sat rigid, my knuckles pale around a folder containing 11 years of my life, bright path solutions. And now my son was tearing it down. Lisa leaned back, her earrings glinting like tiny daggers. "Walter, your audits are slowing us down. We need agility, not colleagues who shift uncomfortably, their eyes darting to the floor." I felt the weight of their silence. A room full of people I'd mentored, now frozen. "You're fired," Ethan said, his eyes cold and unyielding, holding no trace of the boy I'd raised. A gasp rippled through the room, but no one spoke. I stood slowly, my chair scraping the floor. The folder trembled in my grip. "Fired," I said, my voice low but steady. "You forget who built this company, Ethan," he smirked, tossing my folder onto the table. Papers fluttered like broken wings. "Progress doesn't care about your sacrifices, old man," he said. Lisa's lips curled in silent agreement. I turned, my steps deliberate, and walked out. The glass walls reflected my shadow, a ghost in a place I'd made. In the hallway, eyes avoided mine. My office door stood ajar, a sanctuary now violated. On my desk, Ellen's photo watched me, her smile a reminder of better days. I slipped it into my pocket, leaving. Awards and trinkets remained behind. My hand brushed a folder marked confidential on Lisa's desk. As I passed, a spark flickered in my mind. Ethan's voice echoed from the conference room. "Now we're free," he muttered to Lisa. "Free from what?" The truth. I stepped into the lift, the steel doors closing with a soft ding. My reflection stared back at me. Ellen's photo was warm against my chest. He thought he'd won, but I knew where the truth hid. In his safe behind that godly painting. Thursday would be. My office smelled of old coffee and paper, a time capsule of my life's work. I stood alone, Ellen's photo in my pocket, its edges worn from years of touch. The desk bore a faint crack, a scar from the day we signed our first big deal. I was 35 then, the same age as Ethan is now. Back then, he'd run to me, proud of his dad, not plotting to erase me. I packed slowly. Awards clinked into a cardboard box. Plaques for innovation, growth, trust. One caught my eye, a joint award with Ethan. 5 years ago. His grin had been genuine then. I left it on the desk. The past couldn't save me now. My hands moved mechanically, folding years into a box. A drawer creaked open, revealing a letter from Ellen. "You're stronger than you think," she'd written. I swallowed hard, tucking it away. The company had been my sacrifice, nights away from her, from Ethan. For what? So he could spit in my face. The hallway whispered as I left. Colleagues glanced away, their pity sharper than Ethan's scorn. At the security desk, old Mike hesitated. "Walter, I'm sorry." "Don't," I said, managing a nod. His eyes held respect, a faint comfort. Outside, Chicago's rain greeted me, soaking the box. The city roared, horns, footsteps, life moving on. My coat clung to me, heavy with water, but I kept walking. The box sagged, but Ellen's photo stayed safe in my pocket. I tossed my office key into a trash can, the metal clanging against wet garbage. A final goodbye. In my car, the leather seats smelled of memory. I sat and thought about a deal from last year, Ethan's nervous laugh when I questioned a client's numbers. He'd brushed it off, but I'd seen the report later, tucked in his safe. A single page damning enough to ruin him. The engine growled to life. My hands gripped the wheel, my knuckles white. That document was my chance. Ethan thought he'd buried me, but I wasn't done. Not yet. Rain tapped against the windows of my suburban home, a steady rhythm against the quiet. I sat at the kitchen table. Ellen's photo propped before me. Her eyes seemed to follow mine, urging me forward. The house creaked. Old wood, old memories. A photo of the three of us hung on the wall, me, Ellen, and Ethan, aged 10, laughing at the affair. That boy was gone. A month ago, I'd stood in Ethan's office. He'd been rifling through papers, his face tightening when I entered. Behind that ugly painting, there was a safe. Inside, there was a report, its numbers screaming fraud, tax evasion, maybe worse. He'd slammed the safe shut, but not before I saw. That document was my weapon. Now I paced the living room, the floorboards groaning beneath me. I'd lied about tossing my office key. It had to be here. Drawers rattled as I searched, spilling pens, receipts, and Ellen's old scarf. In a box of her things, I found it, rusted, tagged with a faded, bright path. I set it beside Ellen's photo, a vow taking shape. At the table, I scribbled names of contacts who'd help. A journalist I trusted, a lawyer who owed me. My phone buzzed as I dialed the lawyer. "Tom Walter, you okay?" He asked, his voice gruff. "I'm fine," I lied, "need advice." "Ethan's hiding something. Financial," a pause. "Be careful. He's not the kid you raised." Tom's warning hung heavily as I ended the call. Was I ready to destroy my son? The question niggled, but Ellen's face steadied me. She'd want justice, not mercy. I pictured the safe, its combination a puzzle I'd solve. The document inside held Ethan's secrets and Lisa's too, no doubt. My coffee cup tipped, brown liquid pooling on the table, a mess like what was coming. I grabbed my coat, the key cold in my palm. Tonight I would take back what was mine. The back door of Bright Path Solutions loomed before me, its metal frame slick with rain from earlier that night. My old key felt heavy, its rusted edge biting into my palm. I glanced at the empty alley, save for a stray cat darting past. Ethan's safe flashed in my mind. That report, hidden behind his tacky painting. I'd seen him shove it there, his hands shaking. A month ago, tonight I would take it back. The key turned with a reluctant groan. I froze, the hinges squeaked loudly in the silence. No alarms, no footsteps. I slipped inside. The corridor was dark, lit only by the flickering exit signs. My shoes whispered on the tiles, each step a gamble. Cameras blinked above, but I knew their blind spots. Years of walking these halls had taught me that Ethan's office was at the end. Its door was a slab of polished wood. My heart thudded, but my hand stayed steady. Inside, the room smelled of his sharp cologne. The painting, a godly abstract, hung above his desk. I eased it off the wall, wincing as the frame grazed the floor. The safe stared back at me. Its dial was cold under my fingers. I tried Ethan's birthday. The irony was bitter. It opened. The report lay inside, a thin stack of papers with numbers screaming fraud, tax evasion, and offshore accounts, enough to bury him. A photo of Ethan and Lisa slipped out. Their smiles were smug. My jaw tightened. I stuffed the report in my jacket, then I heard footsteps heavy. Deliberate and guarded, I dived under the desk, my knees scraping the carpet. The door creaked open. A flashlight's beam swept the room, grazing the painting, which was now leaning against the wall. "All clear," the guard muttered into his radio. My breath caught. Ellen's photo pressed against my chest. "This is for you," I whispered. The guard left. I waited, counting seconds, then slipped out. The weight of the reporter pressed against my ribs. Outside, the air was sharp. I hurried down the alley, but a car's engine purred. Nearby, its headlights slicing the darkness. Too slow to be random. My pulse spiked. I tucked the report deeper and vanished into the night. My kitchen table was a battlefield. The report was spread out before me like a map to Ethan's ruin. Coffee steamed in a chipped mug, its bitterness grounding me. Ellen's photo sat nearby. Her eyes were steady. "Be smarter, not louder," she'd once said. I smiled. That was my plan, cold, precise, and devastating. The report's numbers told a story of fake invoices and hidden accounts. Lisa's signature was on every page. Ethan was the face, but she was the brains. I traced a line with my finger, anger simmering. 11 years of my sweat, and they turned it into a lie. Not anymore. I scanned the pages, making a copy on my old printer. Its hum was a quiet ally. The original went into my home safe, a squat box hidden in the closet. It was ironic, locking their secrets in a safe like Ethan's. My pen scratched a list: journalist, lawyer, proof. No details yet, just steps to keep me moving. I dialed Mark, a reporter I'd known for years. "Got something big," I said, keeping my voice low. "Off the record, Walter." His tone was wary. "This about Bright Path. Ethan's been dodging me." "You'll see. Check your Dropbox tomorrow." I hung up, my hand steady, but my mind racing. Could I trust him? Did I have a choice? The house creaked, its warmth a contrast to the storm in my head. Ellen's photo watched me, her smile a reminder of why I fought. I locked the safe, whispering, "Your move's over, Ethan." My plan was taking shape, each piece a step towards justice. A knock at the door jolted me. 3 sharp raps, too late for the neighbors. I hid the copy under a newspaper, grabbed the key from the table, and my pulse quickened as I stepped towards the door, the floorboards groaning under my weight. The cafe buzzed with morning chatter, the air thick with coffee and steam. I sat in a corner booth, the report's copy hidden in a plain envelope. Mark slid in across from me, his notebook worn, his eyes sharp. "This better be good, Walter." He tapped his pen. I pushed the envelope forward. "Read it." No names yet. My voice was calm, but my hands were twitching. Ellen's photo in my wallet felt like a talisman. Mark skimmed the pages, his brow furrowing. "This is explosive. Bright Path is done." "If this leaks, I'll dig." I asked, leaning back. He nodded. "Give me a week." I stood up, leaving the envelope. Outside, the Chicago streets, the footsteps of life. For the first time in days, I felt alive. Ethan's laugh echoed in my memory, mocking me as he fired me. Not anymore. Miles away, Ethan's office was chaos. Papers littered his glass desk, and a cracked phone screen glinted under the light. Lisa paced, her heels clicking. "Someone talked," she hissed, clutching her phone. "My contacts as a reporter are sniffing around." Ethan slammed his fist on the desk, a glass tumbling to the floor. "You said the report was secure," he said, his voice cracking with panic. "I did my part." "Maybe your old man wasn't as clueless as you thought," Lisa snapped, her eyes narrowing. She swept the glass shards into a bin, her movements sharp. Ethan froze, his face pale. I drove home, unaware of their panic, checking my phone for Mark's confirmation. The city blurred past, its energy fueling me. I'd struck first, and it felt good. But then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You made a mistake." My grip tightened. The screen's glow was harsh in the dim car. The cafe hummed with morning noise, clinking cups, the hiss of the espresso machine. I sat in a shadowed corner, a plain envelope in my hands, its weight more than paper. Ed Marshall, the journalist, slid into the booth, his coat damp from Chicago's drizzle. "This better be worth my time, Walter." His voice was low, his eyes scanning me. I slid the envelope across the sticky table. "No names, just read it." My tone was even, but my fingers brushed Ellen's photo and my wallet for luck. Ed opened the envelope and skimmed the report's damning numbers. His pen stopped tapping. "Bright Path is cooked if this is real," he muttered. "Who's your source?" "You don't need that yet," I said, leaning back. "Dig and you'll find more." He nodded, tucking the envelope away. I left the cafe's warmth, stepping into the city's pulse. Horns blared, pedestrians rushed. For the first time since Ethan's betrayal, I felt the scales tip in my favor. His sneer calling me a relic burned in my memory. Not today. In Ethan's office, chaos reigned. Lisa stood by the window, her phone pressed to her ear. "A reporter's got something," she snapped, her bracelet glinting as she turned. "Numbers," Ethan said, papers scattering across his desk as he pasted them. A coffee mug teetered unheeded. "You swore that safe was secure," his voice cracked. Lisa's eyes narrowed, cold as the glass walls around them. "Don't pin this on me. Your father was poking around, wasn't he?" Ethan froze, his face pale. He yanked open the safe, finding only dust where the report had been. I drove home, oblivious to their panic, checking my rearview mirror for tails. The city's rhythm fueled me. My first strike had landed. Ellen's photo, tucked close, felt like her nod of approval. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're playing a dangerous game." My hands tightened on the wheel, the road ahead blurring. Ethan's office reeked of desperation. The air was heavy with his cologne and Lisa's perfume. The safe gaped open, empty. "It's gone," Ethan whispered, his hands trembling as he slammed the door shut. Lisa leaned against the desk, her nails tapping out a sharp rhythm. "We need to find out who did this." Now she dialed a number, her voice icy. "Vaughn, it's me. Someone stole from us. I want names." The private detective on the line grunted in agreement. "Start with Walter Grant," Lisa added, glancing at Ethan. "He's not as broken as you think." Ethan's jaw clenched, a vein pulsing at his temple. In my suburban home, the quiet was a fragile shield. I sat in the living room, the TV muted, the news ticker hinting at Bright Path's troubles. My fingers traced the edges of Ellen's old book, where I'd hidden the original report. Its leather cover smelled of time, grounding me. I'd struck hard, but the text from last night, "Dangerous Game," nodded at me. The phone rang, shattering the stillness. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. I answered, my voice steady. "What do you want?" "You know something, don't you?" His tone was low and venomous. "Don't play dumb, Dad." I pictured his eyes, the same ones that had once looked up to me. "You're paranoid, Ethan," I said, hanging up. My pulse raced. Had he guessed? Outside, the neighborhood slept, but I checked the doors, locking them and feeling the cold key in my hand. Ethan's call wasn't a bluff. He was hunting. I placed Ellen's book beside her photo, whispering, "I won't stop." The floorboards creaked and I froze. A shadow flickered past the window, too quickly for it to be a neighbor. My hand found the light switch, plunging the room into darkness. The lawyer's office smelled of ink and old wood, its shelves heavy with legal tomes. I sat across from Clara, my old friend turned attorney, with a stack of Ellen's letters between us. "These prove that I found a bright path," I said, my voice firm. "Ethan stole my share." Clara's eyes widened as she read Ellen's precise handwriting, detailing our early days. Her signature was a legal anchor. She told me to keep them. I said, a memory surfacing, Ellen's voice calm but insistent, just in case. Clara nodded, her pen scratching notes. "We can file a suit," she said. "It's solid, Walter, but risky." "Ethan won't go." I touched Ellen's photo in my pocket, feeling her strength steady me. The risk was worth it. In the courthouse, the air was thick with murmurs and the squeak of chairs. I stood, my suit crisp, as Clara presented our case. Ethan sat across the room, his face a mask of fury. Lisa whispered to him, her eyes darting to me. The judge's gavel fell, demanding proof. "Mr. Collins, your response," he said to Ethan. "He's lying," Ethan spat, his voice echoing. The room fell silent. Clara held up Ellen's letters, their weight silencing him. Lisa gripped his arm, whispering sharply, "We're done." I watched, my heart steady but heavy. This was justice, but it hurt. The hearing ended and reporters buzzed like flies in the corridor. Ethan cornered me, his breath hot. "You'll regret this," he hissed, eyes blazing. I met his gaze unflinching. "You started this, son." I walked away, the echo of my footsteps being drowned out by others behind me. Too close, too deliberate. My hand tightened on my car keys, the metal biting into my palm. The park was quiet, its paths strewn with damp autumn leaves that crunched under my boots. I sat on a weathered bench, the cold wood seeping through my coat. Ethan had called, insisting we meet here. Voice was tight with something I hadn't heard before. Fear. Ellen's photo rested in my pocket, her presence steadying me. A memory flickered. Ethan, aged 6, clutching my hand and promising he'd never let me down. They arrived together. Ethan's face was drawn and Lisa's eyes were sharp but unsteady. He sat across from me, twisting the cuff of his expensive shirt. "Dad," he started, his voice low. "Stop this. The lawsuit, the investigation, call it off." Lisa leaned forward, her bracelet glinting in the gray light. "We'll cut you in. Money, shares, whatever you want." I stared at him. "My son is now a stranger. Do you think I'd sell my dignity?" My words were calm, but they cut. Ethan flinched, his jaw tight. "I made mistakes," he said, softer now. "But we're family. Remember when we built that model plane, you and me?" Lisa's lips curled. "Don't be stubborn, Walter. Push this further and it'll get messy." Her words hung in the air, but her voice cracked, betraying her. I stood, my shadow long across the grass. "You stole my life, Ethan, now you pay." I walked away, their pleas fatting behind me. At home, the house wrapped me in its familiar creak and warmth. Ellen's letters lay on the kitchen table, their ink a map of my fight. I traced her handwriting, each word a vow. The lawsuit was tomorrow, my final strike. Ethan's begging echoed, but I pushed it down. He wasn't my boy anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer, "Court tomorrow, be ready." I set the letters aside. My fingers brushed the table's key. A low noise outside, like footsteps on gravel, made me pause. I stepped to the window, the heavy curtain in my hand. The courtroom buzzed, a hive of whispers and shifting chairs. I sat in the front row, Ellen's letters in my briefcase, their weight anchoring me. The judge's voice cut through the noise, steady and final. Bright Path Solutions is restored to Walter Grant. Ethan Grant and Lisa Wilson are found guilty of fraud. The gavel fell, sharp as a blade. Ethan's face drained of color, his tie askew. Lisa gripped her purse, her knuckles white, her eyes darting to the exit. Reporters scribbled furiously, their cameras flashing. The news had broken. Eads' investigation, fueled by my report, had laid their schemes bare. Ellen's words echoed in my mind. Truth always wins. She was right. Handcuffs clicked as officers approached. Ethan shouted, "This is a lie," bounced off the marble walls, but it was hollow. Lisa's head bowed, her defiance crumbling. I watched, my heart steady but heavy. Justice, not joy, filled me. An old colleague in the crowd met my eyes, her nod a quiet salute. Outside, the Chicago streets were cold, the wind carrying the scent of wet asphalt. Reporters swarmed, their questions a blur. I pushed past, my coat flapping, and reached my car. The radio hummed with news. A bright path was bankrupt, its glass tower now a husk. I exhaled, feeling the weight of years lift, but it was not gone. I glanced at Ellen's photo, tucked in my wallet. "Almost done," I whispered. Her smile held me together. My phone rang, the screen glowing with an unknown number. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the answer button. The city's pulse was loud around me. The cemetery was still, its air heavy with the scent of earth and fatting flowers. I stood before Ellen's grave, holding her photo in my hand, its edges soft from years of touch. The stone was cool under my fingers as I spoke. "It's over, love. The company's mine again. Ethan and Lisa, they're done." A breeze stirred the leaves, her answer in the silence. I'd chosen justice, not forgiveness, just as she had taught me to stand tall. A memory surfaced, Ellen laughing as we danced in our old kitchen, her voice promising that we would face anything together. I'd kept that promise. The lawsuit, the report, her letters, they had brought truth to light. I knelt and planted a small flower by her stone, its roots signifying a new beginning. At home, the house welcomed me with its familiar creak. Ellen's letters rested on the table, their work done. I wouldn't rebuild Bright Path. Its assets would go to charity, schools, shelters, places that mattered. My lawyer called to confirm the transfer. "You're free, Walter." I smiled, sinking into my armchair, its leather warm. The fight had changed me, but now peace settled, soft as evening light. I placed Ellen's photo on the mantelpiece, her eyes bright. My phone buzzed. A letter in the mail from an old friend offering a new project. I left it unopened, the envelope catching the outside. The world hummed, but I remained still, my hand resting on the key that had unlocked so much.